You send us the raw material, the articles, the research, the surprising theories, and we turn that whole fire hose of information into the knowledge you can actually use.
Exactly.
Our mission, as always, is to give you the highest value takeaways in, well, the shortest amount of time, to give you that aha moment that really changes your perspective.
And today, we are unpacking a concept that has, it's really gained tremendous traction. And not just as some, motivational idea, but as a genuine operating system upgrade.
Upgrade, I like that.
Yeah, because it directly confronts what is probably the greatest energy drain in modern life.
Which is?
It's that constant low-level hum of stress and anxiety and just frustration that's caused by things we absolutely cannot control. We are talking about the let them theory.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I think the initial simplicity of the name, it kind of hides a truly profound shift in mindset, doesn't it?
It really does.
The source material we looked at frames this as a two-part psychological tool, really, that instantly and almost ruthlessly clarifies the boundary between what's yours to manage and what absolutely is not.
Right.
And when you apply it, you immediately begin to reclaim what I believe is our most carelessly wasted resource, our time and our emotional energy.
That is the core value proposition. I mean, the deep-seated stress and anxiety that so many of us feel, it's almost always rooted in misdirected energy.
Misdirected how?
Well, we're constantly trying to manage factors that are just inherently outside our sphere of influence. The other people's moods, their decisions, what they think of us, or just uncontrollable external events.
Right, like traffic.
Exactly like traffic. The moment you focus your effort there, you create friction. And that friction, that's what generates the stress. The theory gives you the language to stop that cycle cold.
So if we put the theory into its most simple form, it's a mental protocol.
A protocol, yeah.
When that wave of stress or friction pops up, whether it's big, like, say, losing a contract, or tiny, like a slow line at the bank, you initiate two steps.
Two simple steps.
First, you say to yourself, let them. And then second, you immediately turn inward and you ask, let me.
And that let me phase is so crucial because it immediately refocuses you on the bedrock of your personal power. The sources are absolutely rigorous in defining the three things that are always within your control no matter what.
Okay, what are they?
1, what you choose to think next. 2, what you choose to do, or, and this is often more powerful, what you choose not to do.
Inaction as an action.
Exactly. And 3, how you choose to process your resulting emotions.
That distinction, the three controllables, that feels like the entire framework we're going to be building on today.
It is.
And if you can internalize the skill, the source material promises you will be, and I quote, genuinely shocked by how much emotional power you've been giving away freely every single day.
And it's true. So our mission for this deep dive is to explore the practical, the emotional, and the psychological applications across the whole spectrum of your life, from, daily annoyances to high-stakes family drama and even heartbreak.
We're going to show you how this theory helps you stop that energy drain and fundamentally turn that power back inward, right where it belongs.
Let's do it.
So let's start with the foundation, the detachment mechanism. Let them. This is the instant mental block we're supposed to put up the moment that wave of stress or frustration begins to crest.
Let them is, at its core, an acknowledgement of reality. You're simply recognizing that the irritating, frustrating, or disappointing situation, it's already happened.
It's a done deal.
It's a done deal. A customer was aggressively rude, your boss is being passive-aggressive, your meticulously prepared idea was dismissed in a meeting, whatever it is, it's now a completed historical fact.
Right.
The power isn't in fighting the reality of that moment, but in accepting it.
And this is where we have to establish the crucial nuance right away. Because a lot of people are going to hear, let them, and automatically translate that into let it go.
And they're not the same thing at all.
No. Letting go often implies, defeat, passivity, or feeling like you have to be a doormat and just absorb the injustice.
That interpretation is precisely why the theory used the language it does. The original discussion shared this anecdote about being told to let go of some unfair treatment at work, and the feeling was always negative, like you were just swallowing a bitter pill.
It feels like surrender.
It does, but when you consciously decide to say let them, the experience is entirely different. It's an active choice.
The sources describe it as an almost immediate jolt of superiority.
I love that phrase.
Me too. It means you're recognizing the behavior or the chaos for what it is. Maybe it's childish or immature or just completely irrelevant to your goals. You are consciously rising above it.
You're not endorsing the behavior, not at all.
Well,
But you are creating an immediate and impenetrable psychological boundary.
about.
You're saying, okay, I see this person is having a bad day, or I see that this traffic is slow, but I refuse to allow their external chaos or this external event to dictate my internal peace or, derail the next 8 hours of my day.
And that is an intensely powerful, non-passive act.
It's the opposite of being a doormat.
Right. When you let your boss's poor emotional regulation or some rude person's inconsiderate actions rattle you, you are essentially signing over a lease on your headspace to them. You're just handing them emotional power they absolutely do not deserve.
That's a great way to put it.
Saying let them is the act of revoking that power transfer immediately. It's saying, I see what you're doing, and I'm choosing not to take that on.
And that leads us logically to the second, and I think generally the much harder phase, let me.
Okay.
So if let them is detachment from the external noise, let me is the ultimate responsibility check. It's the intentional turning of your attention back to those three controllable elements we mentioned.
Your thought, your action or inaction, and your emotional processing.
Exactly. It's where you reclaim your agency. It means your power is not in trying to manage the outcome of the external event. You can't rewind time and win that client back right this second, but it's in deciding your immediate intentional response.
The word choice here is so insightful. The sources make this beautiful etymological connection, linking the word responsibility directly to the ability to respond.
It's not about blame, it's about ability.
Right. By focusing on let me, you stop being a passive reactor to whatever life throws at you, and you start being an active chooser of your own response.
So let's take an example. Let's say that stressful event is confirmed. You lost a huge critical client account.
Okay, that's a big one. The panic or anger is going to be immediate.
Of course, it's natural. But the power isn't in wishing you could have kept them, or in spending the next 3 hours complaining to your colleagues about the client's unreasonable demands, which is, usually a default response.
It's what we all do. We vent.
We do. But the real power is deciding what you will think about this loss next. Is this a career-ending disaster, or is it maybe an opportunity to pivot and attract better clients?
And then what you'll do.
Right. What steps will you actually take to mitigate the loss? And crucially, how will you process the inevitable sadness or fear or frustration in a healthy way that doesn't spill over and, say, ruin your interactions with your remaining clients?
So the focus is immediately placed on where you have the maximum leverage.
Which is always your internal world.
That foundation is clear, but it begs the question. If those three controllables are so simple and logical, why do we even need a theory to stop us from chasing things we can't influence? Why are we so naturally obsessed with control?
Well, it really goes back to our core psychological wiring. We are, at the end of the day, survival machines.
Right.
And every single human being has a deep, hardwired evolutionary need to feel safe. And we equate safety with being in control.
Control over our environment, our future.
Exactly. Control over our immediate environment, control over our decisions, control over our future plans, and even, control over our internal state.
That makes perfect sense. Control equals predictability, and predictability equals safety.
The problem, as the sources articulate so well, is the extension of that need.
The extension.
Yeah. The moment something or someone in our environment makes us worried or irritated or uncomfortable, whether it's a teenager leaving dirty dishes in the sink, a colleague constantly interrupting meetings, or a loved one making unhealthy choices, we feel an instability. We feel unsafe or annoyed.
So our instinct kicks in.
Our instinct kicks in, and instinctively, we try to control them so that we can feel better.
That's the insidious part. It's not even really about them. It's about us. We try to outsource our own peace of mind to external factors. We think, if only they would change, I would be okay.
And that immediately activates what the sources call the resistance trap. You are attempting to control the fundamentally uncontrollable. You wish your partner was neater. You wish your kid would get motivated. You wish your boss would be a better leader. It's a wishing well of frustration.
But the second you project that need for control onto someone else, it just bumps up against their own hardwired need for agency and control.
Exactly. They feel judged, they feel pressured, they feel managed. And what do? They immediately push back against your attempts to control them, often by doubling down on the very behavior you wanted them to stop in the first place.
So trying to motivate someone to change by controlling them is actually the most efficient way to achieve the exact opposite result.
It creates friction, conflict, and a wall of resistance.
And This brings us to the massive hidden cost of all this misdirected energy. When we're caught in that resistance trap, we are essentially just leaking our internal resources out onto the world.
And the source material is very, very clear on this. When you spend excessive energy allowing the uncontrollable to stress you out, you become psychologically susceptible to being hijacked by low-value, meaningless distractions.
How so?
You're so drained and fragmented from that internal battle that you just latch on to external controversies. You spend hours debating politics on social media. You doom scroll the news. You endlessly analyze a colleague's passive-aggressive email instead of actually working on the things that matter to you.
Like writing your book or starting that business or just spending quality time with your family.
Precisely. You're burning time on the things that don't matter because the fuel tank is already low from trying to manage things you can't. Okay. The source material uses a really powerful metaphor here to quantify that cost.
Yeah.
The dollar analogy.
Oh, this one is good.
It's so good. Imagine right now having to pay $1 for every minute or even every single thought you have about a person or a situation you cannot actively control.
Just $1.
It's just $1. If you started counting the dollar amount for every time you ruminated about what that rude driver said or what your mother-in-law thinks of your career choice or, what might happen with the economy next year, you would realize the catastrophic financial waste.
You'd be bankrupt by lunch.
You would. It's a death by 1,000 cuts. You don't realize the gravity of the investment until you see it quantified that way.
And this constant unconscious energy leak is why so many of us feel overwhelmed, stressed, and just fundamentally tired, even when we haven't done much physical work.
Yes. It's because we're constantly turning other people and external events into a problem in our life and giving away massive amounts of power to their opinions, their emotions, and their immature behavior.
The theory forces you to audit those thoughts and stop paying the dollar.
You take the money back. You realize that other people should be your greatest source of connection and happiness, but without this skill, they become your greatest liability and your greatest stressor.
Let's pivot now to the practical application of this. Let's start where the stress is most often concentrated for most people listening, the workplace.
Makes sense. Research consistently identifies work as the #1 cause of stress in people's lives.
And it's understandable, right? Work is a highly structured, hierarchical environment where you have immense expectations, but often minimal control.
Minimal control is the key phrase. You've got endless meetings, shift work, corporate politics, the feeling of being passed over for a promotion, or the inevitable loss of accounts. It's a minefield of uncontrollables.
So the genius of the let them theory in this context is its immediate mental triage. The moment you notice that familiar wave of workplace stress, the tightening in your chest, you simply say, let them.
For example, let's take a common scenario. You poured hours, weeks even, into a project. But a colleague, maybe they have better presentation skills, maybe it's just corporate maneuvering, manages to take credit for your work in a senior meeting.
The rage is immediate.
Oh, absolutely. The immediate toxic reaction is to obsessively plot revenge or complain to everyone who will listen for the next 2 days.
But the let them response acknowledges the reality.
It does. You say, let my colleague take the credit. It has already happened. And then you move to the let me.
And the let me response forces you to focus on the controllables. You can't make them untake the credit. You can't rewind the clock.
No, but you can decide. Let me decide what I will do next. Will I meticulously document my contributions from now on? Will I schedule a one-on-one meeting with my boss to clarify my role?
Or will I just decide that the energy required to fight this particular battle is not worth the outcome?
Exactly. And instead, let me focus on the next, more important project where I can really shine. The power is in your intentional response, not your reactionary emotion.
The source material really emphasizes that allowing the injustice or the inconvenience to consume the rest of your day is just senseless self-torture. You rise above it by recognizing that you control your trajectory, not their questionable ethics.
Now, let's look at an even smaller, more insidious daily hassle that illustrates the cumulative impact. I love this one. The grocery line frustration anecdote.
Oh, this is universally relatable. We've all been trapped.
Totally. You're 6 people deep in the checkout line. The cashier is moving at a glacial pace, the scanner is beeping slowly, or they stop everything to call for a price check.
And immediately, the internal monologue begins.
It's an explosion of control obsession. This is ridiculous. Why haven't they called another person? I could run this supermarket better than this manager. You start huffing. You're sweating the small stuff.
And in that moment, You are now fully giving your emotional power to something you absolutely cannot influence.
And what's the next natural step? We usually turn to the stranger behind us and we roll our eyes, right? We're seeking external validation for our internal
We're
frustration.
trying to build a little army of annoyed people.
We are. The source points out that in that moment, you just actively gave away your energy to a problem that doesn't belong to you. You made the line the focus of your day.
But the let them let me response instantly creates distance.
Right. You say, let them run their chaotic supermarket. Let the line be slow. That simple acknowledgement provides an immediate release because you stop fighting reality.
And then...
Then you ask, let me decide what I'm going to do with these 4 minutes.
And now the power is completely back in your hands. You have real choices.
So many choices. You could leave the store and come back later. You could just stand there and practice being present, focusing on your breathing.
Or, and this is the big one, if you're always complaining about having no time for positive connection, you could use those 5 minutes to send a meaningful text to a friend you haven't spoken to in a while, or call your grandmother.
You realize you have immense power in that moment, but most of us just burn it all by letting the external situation, a slow cashier, hijack our internal state and activate our entire stress response system.
And that is the mechanism of the daily drain cycle.
That's it.
You get stressed in the grocery line, then somebody cuts you off in traffic on the way home, then you walk into work the next day and get annoyed in a meeting, and that cumulative energy drain leaves you exhausted by 5 p.m.
The theory forces you to recognize how this seemingly small stuff is impacting you and to keep your power in-house. It's about stopping the bleed.
We need to move now to what is probably the most emotionally charged and complicated area of our lives: personal relationships.
This is where it gets really tough.
Yeah, this is where most people, I think, instinctively resist the let them part because we feel we have a moral obligation to change the people we love, either for their own good or simply for our peace of mind.
That resistance is intense. We feel entitled to our partner's positive mood, or our child's motivation, or our parents' health choices.
But this entire section begins with a fundamental non-negotiable rule that you just have to internalize. You cannot change another human being. You can influence them, you can set boundaries, but they only change if they decide they want to and if they possess the necessary skills to actually execute that change.
So my desire for them to be healthier or cleaner or less dramatic.
It's just a wish. While it might be rooted in love, it will not magically make them so.
And in the context of a long-term commitment, like a partnership, let them become synonymous with true, loving acceptance.
Exactly. The source material points out that if you cannot say let them to minor annoyances, like a partner consistently leaving dishes out or never replacing the toilet paper roll, you inevitably slip into frustration and anger.
And that anger and judgment just pushes against them, reinforcing the resistance trap we talked about earlier.
You're judging them for failing to meet your unspoken expectation, and that judgment makes them defensive and resistant to even considering change. It backfires every time.
To illustrate this, the source offers a wonderful domestic case study: the dishes and the messy side of the sink.
I love this one. In this example, the husband have a perfectly clean side that looks like a Zen 7-star hotel.
And the other side, belonging to his partner, looks like somebody tipped over a Walgreens aisle.
A perfect description. The frustration isn't just about the dishes themselves. It's about the constant creeping migration of the mess, which begins to colonize the clean side.
And the husband's reaction was initially the control response: complaining, criticizing, and cleaning it up while sighing loudly.
Which achieves nothing but resentment on both sides.
Nothing. This is where the let me phase becomes absolutely crucial. It's about moving beyond mere acceptance to mature communication. The ability to respond here means taking responsibility for explaining your needs without resorting to judgment of their character.
So the conversation has to pivot away from "you are wrong" or "you are lazy for doing this"
to an impact statement focused on your values. The husband finally stopped trying to manage the mess and managed his own communication. He explained how the behavior impacted him emotionally.
And what did he say?
He said, "When I see your hairbrush and products left on my countertop, it actually makes me feel like you think I'm the maid, and that feeling doesn't make me feel loved."
Wow. That shift from criticizing the behavior to communicating the impact on a shared value, like feeling loved or respected, that is the key.
That's what taps into their intrinsic motivation for change if they are truly committed to the partnership. You're not attacking them. You're giving them a data point they need to choose a new behavior.
And if you're with a caring person, they will take responsibility for building new skills or finding compromises.
They will. But this is where the theory takes a profound, almost uncomfortable turn with a new meaning of let them.
Which is?
The realization that let them also show you who they are.
Ah. So, if you've had that mature, value-based conversation, and the person, be it a partner, a sibling, a family member, consistently demonstrates that they cannot or will not change their behavior or prioritize your needs.
Then their behavior is communicating the absolute truth about their priorities.
And honoring that reality is the painful but necessary next step. If their actions reveal that your needs are consistently not a priority for them, you must stop arguing with reality.
And that leads directly to the ultimate, let me.
You have to decide if this is the reality you are willing to accept.
You have to ask yourself, is this kind of behavior what I deserve?
Yeah.
Is this relationship honoring my needs? You get to choose how to respond to the truth they reveal. The only person you can control is the one who chooses whether to stay in that dynamic.
Because the entire cycle of constant complaining and resentment and just bitching, it only builds when you refuse to accept the truth of who that person is.
You're living in the fantasy of who you wish they were, and that internal struggle is why you remain trapped and angry.
We've addressed the drain caused by direct, intimate relationships. But there's a second major way we hemorrhage power, and that's by making people a problem through external comparison and giving way too much weight to their opinions, what the sources call the social media graveyard.
This is such a pervasive subconscious habit. Before we even consider what feels right for us, we stop and we ask, what will they think?
All the time.
We choose the perfect filter, we obsess over the caption, we debate the emoji choice, all based on trying to guarantee a specific, positive external response from an audience of people we barely know.
And it results in, as the sources describe it, hundreds of draft posts sitting in a digital folder, a graveyard of wasted energy. We spend hours curating a life, only to delete the evidence because of a fear of judgment.
And this is based on a fundamentally flawed premise.
Yeah.
You are attempting to control the uncontrollable. The average human being has, what, 70,000 random thoughts per day?
A crazy number.
What makes you think your post, buried in their timeline, is going to guarantee they think anything specific, let alone positive, by your life? It's impossible.
It's a sociological phenomenon captured perfectly by that quote from Charles Horton Cooley. I am what I think you think I am.
Say it again.
I am what I think you think I am. We are living in a perception of a perception entirely disconnected from the grounding reality of ourselves. We're essentially asking hundreds of strangers for permission to exist.
So the simple antidote is the let them think negative thoughts hack.
Bitches.
When you catch yourself editing or hesitating or ruminating because of the fear of judgment, you consciously say, let them. You accept the reality of judgment. It's going to happen. No matter how perfectly you curate your life, someone will always find something to criticize. Accepting that is liberating.
And once you accept the reality of judgment, the power comes rushing back. You pivot to the let me.
Let me remind myself, I can think what I want, wear what I want, and post what I want as long as it aligns with my values. When you operate in a way that makes you proud of yourself, you anchor your worth internally.
And you immediately stop paying for those external opinions. You take the money back.
This framework also applies brilliantly to external drama and gossip. If you're worried that people you haven't spoken to in years are gossiping about you, which, let's be honest, they probably are because people talk.
The answer is let them.
Let them. You cannot stop it. Worrying about it is an act of senseless self-torture.
And the let me response to gossip focuses on agency. The power is in choosing who you spend your time with. Why waste a single minute chasing people who treat you poorly, who require you to apologize or explain yourself when you've done nothing wrong?
You get to decide who is worthy of your time, your response, or your explanation.
This is particularly potent when you're dealing with complex family systems. The sources illustrate this with the spiderweb analogy.
I love that analogy.
Often, one challenging, highly dramatic, or narcissistic person impacts the entire network. Everyone tiptoes around their mood, trying to predict their outbursts or manage their volatility, creating this suffocating web of tension.
The moment you deploy let them in this system, you cease managing their mood, and instead you manage your own energy and your own boundaries.
You remind yourself that you can remove yourself from any toxic dinner conversation or family text chain or obligation whenever you choose.
That intentional detachment is the ultimate power move in a dysfunctional system. The source material notes a powerful social truth. The most peaceful, most centered person, the one who understands the supreme value of their own energy, actually holds the most power in any system.
Why?
because they're no longer dependent on the chaos for their emotional state.
And finally, on this point, we often make people a problem by falling into the scarcity mindset when we compare ourselves to their success.
Oh, this is a big one.
We see someone get married, get promoted, have a baby, buy a nice car, and our immediate instinct is to view it as a personal loss to us.
But the sources remind us that love and happiness and money are in limitless supply. You are never playing against people. You're playing with them, even if you're not directly competing.
So instead of saying, why them and not me, or feeling that pang of envy, you should practice saying, let them lead the way.
Their achievement is not your loss. It is confirmation of what is possible. They are showing you the formula for your own success, provided you stop blocking your own path by obsessively focusing on what they have that you don't.
Their success is a roadmap.
A roadmap. Exactly.
We have established the utility of this theory in daily life and professional contexts, but the true test of this philosophy, it really comes in the highest stakes emotional scenarios: love, profound loss, and deep-seated issues of motivation.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, heartbreak is where let them becomes incredibly painful, almost counterintuitive. A breakup is fundamentally a form of death. You're grieving not just the person, but the entire shared life you had and the future you were planning.
Every fiber of your being, every neuronal pathway in your brain wants to keep that person alive in your immediate reality.
The human brain registers the loss of a partner in ways that are startlingly similar to addiction withdrawal.
That's not a metaphor. It's physiological. The constant communication, the shared space, the physical touch, it all created patterns in the nervous system that released feel-good chemicals. When that stimulus is removed, the nervous system panics.
It craves the person back.
Right, but not necessarily out of true enduring love, but out of a physiological habit. It's a chemical craving.
This is why the source material provides the crucial 30-day detox rule. This is non-negotiable for unlearning those patterns.
Non-negotiable. The rule mandates zero contact, zero checking social media, zero viewing photos, zero watching pornos, and absolutely zero listening to old voice memos.
Any sign of the person, even a nostalgic photo that pops up, immediately triggers the old nervous system patterns and delivers a small, addictive hit.
And that hit delays the crucial healing process.
The
goal is total withdrawal to reset the neural chemistry.
The memories are going to surge, though. You'll feel these intense pangs of desire to reach out because that was the ingrained pattern for so long.
Of course. But the theory clarifies that memory doesn't mean you should get back together. It means you are succeeding at unlearning something. You are breaking the addiction.
And there is real tangible data to support this rigorous detachment.
There is. Research shows a really encouraging benchmark. 71% of people begin to feel substantially better by 11 weeks if they strictly adhere to this detox rule.
11 weeks.
11 weeks. That duration is sufficient time for the body to break the old nervous system patterns and regain baseline emotional stability.
And there are practical steps to support the detox.
Yeah.
The recommendation to reset your space is key.
So key. Your bedroom especially can become a graveyard of the old life, and it's incredibly triggering.
So painting a wall, moving the bed, getting new sheets.
Any decisive change helps to disrupt the emotional association with that space. You're creating a new environment for a new phase of life.
And the ultimate let me in heartbreak is focusing on self-reconstruction. A powerful piece of therapist advice is offered in the source material. If you knew for a fact that the love of your life, the one you're truly meant to be with, was just a few months away from meeting you, what would you be doing with this period of time?
Wow.
Holding on to the past keeps you trapped, stagnant, and emotionally closed off to the possibility of the future you deserve.
Now let's tackle a different but equally difficult emotional challenge. Supporting struggling loved ones. Whether it's a child who is unmotivated in school, or a partner dealing with addiction or deep inertia.
The common, and I have to say destructive instinct here, is the trap of fixing or rescuing.
We all do it.
We step in with our good ideas and we rescue people from the natural consequences of their actions. While this comes from a place of love, it only enables them to continue drowning in their problems.
Why?
Because they never feel the necessary friction or discomfort that actually motivates change.
They only change when facing the difficulty of their current situation. Their mess, their inaction, their pain becomes harder than the effort required to make a change. And if we keep softening that difficulty for them, they just stay stuck.
And we often step in with judgment or pressure. Why don't you just study harder? Or, you should go to the gym, that's what I did. This just increases the pressure on someone who is already locked in deep internal conflict.
So the shift must begin with an assumption of skill. This is a big mindset change.
What does that mean?
You must assume that if someone is struggling, they're not failing due to a lack of willpower, but because a crucial skill is missing, or there's an intense paralyzing emotion that needs to be processed.
So the kid's struggling in a difficult class.
The sources note that kid is often the hardest working person there. They just lack the required study or organizational skills. It's not about effort.
So the goal is to create an environment where they can generate their own motivation without us intervening or judging. This is where the effective ABC technique for support comes in.
Okay, let's break it down.
It starts with A, apologize and ask. This is about removing the external pressure you are inadvertently applying. You apologize. You say, I'm sorry I've been questioning you, and adding pressure to a situation that is already difficult for you.
Then you ask two open-ended questions, designed to make them confront their own internal friction, but without confrontation.
The first one is, how do you feel about this issue truly? And the second, and this is the most crucial question, what would you like to do about it, if anything?
The tip provided is to have this conversation in a car looking forward. This reduces the confrontation and allows them the space to think without feeling the pressure of direct eye contact.
This first step removes your agenda, and it allows the necessary friction, the tension between what they internally desire and the painful reality of where they currently are, to rise up.
And that friction is the only organizing intrinsic motivation they need to start moving.
Next is B, back off. Let them. This is the ultimate application of the theory and support. You must remove your pressure entirely and create space for the change to be their idea.
The example given is the colleague who influenced behavior without saying a single word.
Tell me about her.
She wanted her sedentary colleagues to be more active, but she didn't preach. She didn't send articles about health. Every day at lunch, she simply got up and went for a walk. She modeled the change she wanted to see.
She didn't offer advice.
She just quietly influenced. Her example created a gap, a space for them to realize, hey, I could do that too, without feeling coerced or judged.
And finally, C, celebrate and model.
You celebrate small changes, a small study session, a healthier meal, but in a non-passive-aggressive way. No, oh, look who finally decided to eat a salad.
Right. But most critically, you must model the change yourself. If you're encouraging sobriety, don't pour a glass of wine at dinner. If you're encouraging physical health, don't sit on the couch eating chips while they attempt to exercise.
Your behavior makes the desired change look accessible, and it shows them you are committed to the values you are advocating for.
Moving from the intense closeness of family and partners, let's look at the great scattering of adult friendship. This is another major area where let them offers immense peace and clarity.
It really is a scattering, isn't it?
Completely. When we are young in childhood, high school or college friendship is a group sport. You're organized by proximity, shared activities, shared milestones. You expect constant, easy time together.
But once the 20s hit, that whole structure just evaporates. People move for careers, for partners, for grad school. Friendship abruptly moves from a group sport to an individual sport.
And the sources stress that you can no longer expect friendship. You have to be proactive, flexible, and willing to put in the effort.
This is why you must let people come and go. You can wish them well and understand that if a friendship fades, it is usually not a personal indictment. It's usually that one of the three pillars of adult friendship has collapsed.
If a friendship fades, we often torture ourselves trying to analyze what we did wrong. But the theory encourages us to just ask a simple, objective question. Is one of the three foundational pillars missing?
So what are the three pillars?
The first pillar is proximity. Physical closeness is a tremendous driver of connection. The sources cite this incredible research showing that people living across the hall from each other were 90% likely to be friends.
But those living just 50 feet away were only 10% likely.
That's a huge drop-off.
Yeah.
As adults, we spend most of our waking hours next to coworkers, but often the other pillars are missing, which explains why work friends rarely transition into lifelong best friends outside the office.
And the second pillar?
Timing. As adults, we are all on radically different timelines. Marriage, new babies, graduate school, extreme career shifts. You can genuinely like someone, but if your life schedules are fundamentally different.
Like one is raising a toddler and the other is traveling internationally for work.
Exactly. You simply won't have the 70 or 200 hours that research says is needed to maintain a close or even a casual friendship. The time just isn't there.
And the third pillar is energy.
Shared energy changes. This is often the quiet killer of friendships. If one person stops drinking and becomes obsessed with fitness, Or if political beliefs diverge drastically, the shared energy dynamic shifts.
It's not about judgment.
Not at all. It's just about a misalignment in where they invest their emotional resources and their time.
And realizing that a friendship faded due to one of these three structural factors and not a personal flaw, that is incredibly freeing.
You just let them go, understanding that timing, proximity, or energy might realign later. And if not, you wish them genuine peace.
But the let me action here is vital. If you feel lonely or isolated, you have to take responsibility for connection. Friendship is not a passive event. If you want connection, you must go first.
You have to be the one to schedule the call, plan the trip, or initiate the text.
The source material offers a beautiful reminder here. There are likely hundreds of people from your past, from high school, college, old jobs, who still genuinely consider you a friend.
Sending a surprise text or a quick message causes immense joy and helps restore connections that only faded due to the scattering of adult life.
And finally, there's the party planner revelation.
What's that?
If you consistently notice that you are the only person making plans, the only one initiating contact, you have to use the let me theory for reflection. You need to examine two things.
Right.
Either you need to invest in a new group of friends where the energy exchange is more balanced, or
What?
you must recognize and accept that being the party planner is simply your natural, non-transactional role in life. A gift you give willingly, not a burden you resent. You get to decide if that role is worth the energy.
This has been an incredibly deep and multifaceted exploration. I mean, we started by defining the #1 cause of stress, trying to manage things outside of your control. And we've systematically applied that insight to, well, every corner of life.
And what we've discovered is that the let them theory isn't some trendy new idea.
Mhm.
It's a modern, actionable application of ancient, enduring philosophies.
Whether you call it stoicism, detachment,
Or simply spiritual guidance. It allows you to truly see people and situations for what they are, not what you wish them to be.
and by diligently and consistently using let them to detach from the uncontrollable and let me to focus on your agency, you are giving yourself the massive necessary gift of time and energy.
You're allowing yourself to focus on the area where you actually have maximum leverage and power. Your thoughts, your actions, and your emotional processing.
When you realize the immense untapped power you gain through that intentional response, you can begin to shift anything in your life for the better.
Because you're no longer chained to the emotional whims of others or the chaos of external events.
It's truly about resilience and growth. The source material ends with an image that is really worth carrying forward.
It is. It reminds us that everything in nature grows only where it's vulnerable. A tree doesn't grow where the bark is hard and thick. It grows where it's soft and green and vulnerable. Growth requires exposure.
That is powerful and so counterintuitive. So, as your final provocative thought, we challenge you to consider this. What specific vulnerability, perhaps the fear of being judged or the fear of being alone, are you currently shielding yourself from by desperately trying to control someone else's behavior or manage their mood?
And what beautiful new growth might appear in your own life if you simply practice letting them be.